back. It's the discussion segment of the program. Of course, you know that it's no more news that Nigeria is bedeviled by myriads of problems, chief among them insecurity. The state of national security has tremendously worsened to the point of being non-existent. Now more than ever before, there's a prevailing sense of dread for interstate travelers who cannot afford a plane ticket. That you know. We regularly see and hear cases of kidnapping, ritual killing, murder, and mayhem occurring in various parts of the country, making it look like as if the safety and well-being of the citizens are not top priorities for Nigerian government. Being in the world of technology, there seems to be no way the nation can escape investing in advanced technologies to protect our dear nation whenever the need arises. And this is always constant. The need arises constantly, so to say. That brings us to the topic for discussion today, which is tackling Nigeria's insecurity challenge with technology. Of course, we have somebody that should know the nitty-gritty of what we are discussing. I'm talking about Commodore Kunle Olawunmi, who retired. He was a former Deputy Director, Defense Administration, DHQ, as is the Defense Headquarters in Abuja. Not only that, to know that we have the right person to look at this issue. He was Commandant and the Director of Studies, Defense Intelligence College, Abuja, Deputy Defense Attaché, Paris in France, former CSO to the Military Governor of Enugu State, Deputy Director Foreign Liaison at the Defense Intelligence Agency of Nigeria. You can go on and on. Former Commanding Officer, Combatant 3, Nigeria Navy Ship, Ekwe. This is our guest today. So let me welcome Commodore Kunle Olawunmi, retired, again to this wonderful section or segment this morning. Good morning, you're welcome.
Good morning. I'm at home. I'm very pleased to be here.
You are cool at home.
Yes.
Dominic.
Okay, maybe we should begin like this. Are we better now than we were in 2015? You have been constantly watching the space, whether consciously or unconsciously, due to your training and the profession that you took to for better part of your life. Now, would you say that Nigeria or Nigerians are better off now than we were in 2015?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Obviously we are not better off because I remember in 2015 I could travel from Yenegua to Abuja.
On road?
I rode in the night. I could travel from Abuja to Kano. I could travel from Abuja to Makode. I could travel from Abuja to my village in Ilaro. Today, I'm very weary of traveling by road or even by train. Even by air has become so difficult because of insecurity in Nigeria. So, and I think our civil society, we also agree that we are in a state of anomy, a state of trepidation. I don't believe we are better off today.
Now, when you hear the president, for instance, I think it was yesterday, the president was assuring Nigerians that, yes, the military would actually combat the insecurity and that Nigerians should be rest assured that will be done. How do you feel hearing such assurance and hearing such a thing repeatedly?
I followed his visit to the naval base, yes, because I mean that's my former base. I remember I was in that base many times. When I was the commanding officer of the Combatant 3 you mentioned, I was in that particular base. I also remember I was in that base when I was the staff officer 2, security and technical at the Naval Intelligence Annex. So when I learned the Commander-in-Chief would be going there yesterday, I was very happy and I was following. I also know that the Chief of Naval Staff has been a colleague and I know he's been working very hard. So I wanted to see what he's doing so far. Yeah, and I think I believe the Commander-in-Chief when he said he's going to tackle this menace. I wouldn't have believed him 1 year ago. But 1 year ago,
So what has changed?
yeah, if you observe what happened 3 days ago, 2 days ago, in the past 48 hours, Nigeria was arrested in Saudi, I mean in Egypt. Yeah, Mamo, and brought back home, and they searched his house and they found a lot of incriminating evidence. For me, being an intelligence analyst, I can see the body language of Mr. President changing. I think 2 years ago that wouldn't have happened. I think seriously that he's beginning to shake up the cabal that are giving him those wrong advices, and I think he's geared towards, tackling this menace. So I was very critical of him a year ago. Other incidences that has happened in the past 3 months, 4 months, for me it's an indication that he's serious about handling over this government to the next person with a good record. I think he has a reason to do that, because history will not be kind to him if he doesn't do that. So I think I believe him. I think he's having a grip on the situation, unlike before, where people that surrounded him have been giving him very bad advices and trying to, further their own parochial interests, So I think the Commander-in-Chief is beginning to see through them, and I think he's going to do something.
During one of our earlier interviews, maybe just like you said, sometimes past, you actually described the terrorists, the bandits as ragtag team, ragtag soldiers, and you were worried why the whole force, enormity of Nigerian military could not just disperse a ragtag bandits in days. How do you still consider them ragtag? Or let me just say, what happened that we allowed a ragtag bandit, so to say, grow in confidence and become, so mighty that they could just attack whatever and wherever they want to attack?
Yeah, I still stand by that appellation. They are ragtag in absolute terms. But, conceptually, when you look at the aggregate, you see that when people that are very formidable are behind some ragtag people, it becomes something that, is worrisome, because the army may do whatever they need to do, but as long as the sponsors of this ragtag army are there, nobody has arrested them, nobody has tried them, nobody has investigated them. Of course, the ragtag army will continue to be formidable. So I still stand by them, because if you arrest them and if you see them physically, they are ragtag. They are hungry looking. They're not educated. I think they just know how to fire a gun, and they are under influence of drugs. Anytime they're arrested, you see a cache of drugs, where they are. So these are not people that we need to worry about. If the intelligence community and the government that have the oversight responsibility of those communities, if those people have been up and doing, they could have actually mopped up those sponsors in the past 3, 4, 5 years. And if they did not do, I pointed it out about a year ago that they should focus on those people that are sponsoring them. And I think 1 year after that counsel to the government, I don't think anybody has been arrested or tried. And few ones that were even arrested by chance has been released, from Kuje prison. So that put to question, the integrity of this government. If people that were arrested has been freed, people were arrested few times, in the past, and they were kept in prison without trial, and until they were released by their men. So I still maintain their ragtag, but I think the second part of the question is how come they are formidable? is because the people that are sponsoring these boys are still living within us. And the intelligence community, maybe their hands must have been tied to the fact that they could not arrest them. It's not that they don't know them, but they did not arrest them. If you don't arrest, and you know, we have rule of law. This is democracy. Let them go through the judicial process and see whether they don't have a case to answer. Yes. So I think the government should do that.
Now, you have always said that the sponsors are like the center of gravity for this whole, what is it called, insecurity, particularly in the north, and that when these sponsors are arrested or are tried or are checked, the rate or the speed of criminality in these areas would actually reduce drastically.
Yeah.
And even almost over a year when you pointed this out, nothing really, I mean, you also said it right now, nothing really has been done. Would you still say you are confident? I mean, because earlier you expressed confidence that the president is going somewhere and that he has now resolved to put an end to the insecurity. With these sponsors not being arrested and then knowing that they are the center of gravity of this whole insecurity, do you think, I mean, with that confidence, really?
Especially vis-a-vis the recent, you wouldn't want to disagree that in recent time we have seen action. And of course, yes, and we have been seeing reports about the number of terrorists and bandits that have been killed in some forests, including Sambisa, and it's looking as if we are getting some results, no doubt about it. Well, that's from a layman's point of view.
Yeah.
But vis-a-vis that,
I think, you know, what he raised is very fundamental. Because if you are seeing some kinetic efforts where the Chief of Defense Staff, General Rabo, has, you know, upped the game, he can just do that much. But if you keep on killing the boys in the field and they keep on fueling it, the sponsors, then a matter of time, the morale of the armed forces, the steam, the focus is going to wane. It's like there's a fire in this studio, and what you need to do is to start that fire of oxygen. But instead of doing that, you are fetching water in buckets and throwing at the fire. A time will come where maybe the source of water will dry up, or the people involved in trying to put out the fire in that, I quote, ignorant way will become exhausted. So, from your point of view, even though we are seeing some actions, but for how long will that continue? And I will give you an example of what is happening in Ukraine. Ukraine and Russia is an example. You know, the Russians, you know, mighty country, you know, went in there. But the Ukrainians, you know, kept on throwing their little stones and cocktails. And as of today, because I'm following the Ukrainian crisis, the Russians are getting tired. The Russians are getting tired because the Ukrainians are employing some level of asymmetry. They know they cannot fight the Russians, but they are employing tactics that is actually frustrating the Russians. The same thing in Nigeria. You can keep on throwing bombs, you know, firing artillery to cut off fighter jets, killing them. The more you kill, the more they come. But I advise the government to focus more on the core problem, which is the sponsors of this program. Because you can keep on shooting them. They bring more from other countries to come and join. But if you can arrest those people that are fueling it, then the source of oxygen to that fire will die. Once the oxygen is out, the fire will just die. So, I understand, I still have confidence in the president because I think he has realized that he needs to leave a legacy behind. You have to leave the country better than you met it, or leave it at the point as if you have met it. Because if he lives in a few months' time, history will be written about him. His generations unborn will continue to read about him. So I think he has realized that, and I have confidence that I think within the next few months, I believe that he may also go after those sponsors.
Talking about using technology to tackle our insecurity challenge, what was the situation like in your days? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And of course, have we really invested in technologies to help us in tackling insecurity? Are we investing? Is it working? What is the place of technology in this type of situation elsewhere where the system works, and why is it not working in Nigeria if at least it exists?
Yeah, I think I like that question because that area is somewhere that I have passion. You know, I told you I was in Western Naval Command. I used to be the staff officer to security and technical. So I was in charge of the Naval Intelligence Technical Cell. And believe me, we have so much equipment then. I'm talking about 1991. It was military regime. I could listen to everything going on in our airspace from my office. I could listen to pilots discussing with themselves inside cockpits.
And that's intelligence gathering.
Of course. If two pilots are discussing in the cockpit, I could listen to them. If a ship enters our territorial water, I could listen to everything they're saying in the ship. I could monitor all their VHS, UHF channels.
What has changed?
What has changed? If I want to summarize what has changed, I think it's corruption. There's so much corruption that it has gone into every aspect of our lives. It's corruption. I remember those days we go to Germany to buy equipment. I don't want to mention names.
I was going to ask that because when I say what has changed,
yeah,
are the equipment that gave you so much confidence to do your job very well, are they still the same type of equipment? I mean, the people that are there now that you are not there, that are supposed to do the job you did very well then, do they have the components to work with? Can they speak as you speak?
I think when I look at it from the point of training, I think they even have better training now because of you know, modernization and so on. I think it's just that they don't have those equipments like we used to have because they are not being bought. You know, when
so we're not investing in technology.
The federal government is investing so much money on defense.
Okay.
Relatively, because I had statistics to show that we are not doing enough. Like if I mention about 6 countries that are our contemporary: Pakistan, India, Egypt, Algeria, South Africa, we are the least. In fact, we are spending less than 33% of what Egyptians are spending on defense. And yet, our civil society will make noise. There's a lot of money going to defense. The data I have shows that we are spending less than 33% of Algeria, of India, of Pakistan, of Brazil. But having said that, the money that also is budgeted, I make bold here to say that less than 30% of that money gets to the defense itself. And anybody should challenge me on that. There's a lot of bureaucracy, bottlenecks. There's a lot of oversight responsibility by the Senate, by politicians, ministers, and they give contracts to people that have no business in defense industry. I don't want to talk too much about politics, but I think the challenge is that the federal government, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, is looking at defense, is budgeting money, is approving money, but it's not getting down. I was in defense headquarters, and I can say that boldly, that the money is not trickling down. There are a lot of pirates that hijack these things along the line, and I'm sure the commander-in-chief is not very much aware that what he budgets for defense doesn't really get to them. And you can, before even this government, look at Colonel Sambo Dasuki. I'm sorry to mention his name. You can see the rot, how much money was squandered, you know. So the point is that the commander-in-chief knows that the defense needs some funding. He even goes about getting loans. But he's not actually having direct oversight to see that this money actually goes to where it's supposed to be. I think that's where the problem. There are a lot of people, they call them cabals, that surround him that just, you know, eat those money. Otherwise, I check the amount of money that's being budgeted for defense now, and I look back 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. We're not having such money. So where is the money going to? The Senate Committee on Defense should answer.
I think in addition...
They should tell us where the money is going to. The men are just going there and dying. And people are eating the money. The problem is corruption. It's not like we don't have men that can do it. I mean, I'm even obsolete now. If you look at the type of equipments and
training.
Yes, that the training they have. And they send them abroad all the time. I have colleagues that are in US now, people that are in Israel, that are training.
And all these are not reflecting on how to tackle a rat tag.
A rat tag, I mean, is, you know, caning us. So I think the corruption aspect has to be looked into by the commander-in-chief. He's trying his best, but he can't be everywhere. He has people at the Senate that's supposed to have this oversight responsibility. I've seen contracts of buying warships that are given to people that just go cap in hand to country and be looking as if they want to buy tomatoes. I've seen people giving money in the past, I'm not saying this government, to buy avionics for our MiG-29, I mean for our MiG fighters, not MiG-29, because we have, I think, MiG-21 then. And I was the deputy defense attaché, and I was in charge of arms procurement. And somebody will walk to my office and he has come to France to buy rockets for, you know, a fighter jet. And I look at him and say, pardon me, are you, he said yes, he got the contract and he wants us to show him where to buy the rockets.
Wow.
So this is where the problem is.
We're still looking at the issue of insecurity challenge and what we can achieve if we tackle it with technology. Commodore Kunle Olawunmi, retired, is still here with you. We take this break. We'll be back.
I'm not stalking him. I'm about to serve better breakfast.
Buy any monthly data plan and get up to 5 GB free to use on social media. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Yes, Dominic wants to...
Yes, you were talking about, I mean, being in charge of procurement at some point, and the National Security Advisor, Babagana Mungono, General Babagana Mungono, retired, actually said there is also another difficulty in getting technology to combat insecurity in the country, and he said the difficulty is in the area of procurement, the procurement process that is very difficult, and that is why it is not easy for security agencies to deploy adequate technology to combat the security situation. Now, with your experience in that area of procurement of arms and ammunition and the rest of them at some point for the nation, can you tell us what could be the difficulty
that he's talking about?
Yeah, I'm a bit careful to talk about the National Security Advisor. If you make a comment, I'm not supposed to make a comment. He's a superior officer to me. But your question is very simple. There are two prone to it. It can be difficult